So tell us about Viterra India Private Limited.
So Viterra is a multinational, multi-commodity trading company specializing in agri-commodities. So Viterra India buys and sells, exports and imports agri-commodities in and out of India. We are part of a global network. We have offices in 38 different countries.
Wow.
I'm very proud to say that in the last 2 years, through the contributions of Viterra, we've done over 104 surgeries of 104 kids, basically giving them a new lease of life and hope for the family. Like these, we have several other projects. We work in interiors in Maharashtra with tribal communities and improve their market linkage for their crops. I think India is right now in such a great place in terms of opportunities. I think the world is looking at India as sort of a beacon of growth. We have, if you just look at all the countries that are neighbors to India, a lot of countries have sort of fallen on bad days, if I can use that word, from a growth perspective. So I think the India of today provides huge amount of opportunity for everybody. When you say that what should the youth do, should they look at an overseas degree, an overseas job, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. I think you have to see that, what skills you want to develop, what industry you want to be in, and do you really see value in doing that course from an overseas country or a job in an overseas country. I think this whole halo of being in a foreign country is over. And I think, people realize that through their lifetimes, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for tourism across the world. If India has to grow, the farmers in India need to grow. The farmers are the backbone of the agri sector. And there are some difficulties that the farmers face because of small land holdings. But I think technology will help alleviate some of those issues. Probably government policy over a period of time will allow for collective bargaining. The whole FPO movement that started a few years ago is now gaining momentum. And I think the well-run FPOs are already seeing the benefits of that being a collective force. And I think over time, as companies get involved, as policies become a little bit more friendly, technology comes in, this new generation of farmers comes in, seed technology improves, this entire ecosystem will get lifted.
You are watching the Raj Smriti show, and today we have with us Mr. Manek Gupta, Managing Director, Viterra India Private Limited. Welcome to the show. We'll begin with, what is this organization all about, and you've been heading it for past 15 years or so?
15 years, about 7 years.
Okay. So tell us about Viterra India Private Limited.
So Viterra is a multinational, multi-commodity trading company specializing in agri-commodities. So Viterra India buys and sells, exports and imports agri-commodities in and out of India. We are part of a global network. We have offices in 38 different countries.
Wow.
And so our main job is basically to connect the producer with the consumer in a sustainable manner. So Viterra India, we deal in various products like various baskets of commodities. We do grains, we do oilseeds, we do cotton, sugar and pulses.
So it's the wholesale supply of things, or you are into retail?
So we are mostly wholesale, and within wholesale we are into bulk wholesale.
Okay.
So a lot of our customers will be B2B customers. And in a small measure, we started doing pulse processing a few years ago, where we are selling to the general trade, to the modern trade, and eventually it reaches the consumer. We also have a brand, but the sales on the brand are very minimal at the moment, and most of our business is B2B.
Nice. So now we'll come back to your journey per se. You are from Lucknow, based out of Mumbai currently, heading this organization in the capacity. But the Lucknow boy moving all across the globe, I'm sure you must have gone to various places, did other assignments as well before taking up this assignment. So walk us through your journey. How were you as a child? What dreams did you have? Did you think of living this corporate life per se?
To answer your last question first, the answer is no.
Okay.
As you mentioned, I'm very much still a Lucknow boy, Lucknow person. My roots are here, my family is here, my parents are here, my brother is here. And I have a deep, deep, deep connection with Lucknow. Lucknow is my favorite place to be in.
Wow.
I have traveled all over the world, but, at any opportunity, I prefer to be in Lucknow than any exotic destination in the
That's so
world.
nice to hear.
And that's also because, we have such a loving family, an extended family, and, there's always a pull to come back to Lucknow for everything. So with regards to my journey, I studied in Lamatnia, right from nursery all the way to class 12.
Wow.
So one school, so a lot of great friendships because being in one school for so long.
The bonding stays forever.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, once you're in Lamatnia, back in the days in the 90s, you've set such a high bar for yourself. And, then every step that you take in life, seems, you want to go higher and higher. So for me, I was in Lucknow all the way through. I come from a business family. And so the general feeling always is that, you finish your studies and then you come back to business.
Yeah.
But for me, my dad, he was always encouraging for us to study more and more and then, do whatever we wanted to do in life. And then eventually, there was always a fallback option to come back in the family business. It was not a compulsion, at least in my case. So after that, luckily, I got good scores in class 12. I got through Shri Ram College of Commerce in Delhi. I was in the hostel for 3 years, which is a great, fantastic learning for me. From being in such a comfortable house, born, brought up in such a stable and comfortable house, going into the hostel and being exposed to the world for the first time.
And that to New Delhi,
that to New Delhi. And, that was sort of a microcosm of the whole of India.
Right.
You had students from all over the country. And even many overseas students as well. Yeah. So I think that was a huge learning for me. I think it was as if I was just sort of left my well and out in the world. So that was a great learning experience for me. So I was there for 3 years. I have to say I was an average student in SRCC. I was probably an above average student in Lamatnia, but an average student in SRCC, which makes sense because, you've got the best brains of the country coming to study there.
And you're competing with them.
You're competing with really the best.
A lot of other things also on
so I think I realized that, I'm no more than an average student once I was in SRCC. Then I dropped a year actually. I didn't get through any colleges of repute for my MBA. I dropped a year, which is where I spent a year in Lucknow and studied for my MBA. Then I got through IFT, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade.
Wow.
So I was there for 2 years again in Delhi. And then, for some reason, international trade, commodity trade really fascinated me. And IFT at the time had a program called Commodity Trading and Price Risk Management.
Okay.
And so for some reason, I really didn't know what it all meant and where it would take me eventually. But some reason I had this fascination of cross-border trade, traveling the whole world. Luckily, I applied in companies that would support that sort of work life, and I got through a company called Noble Resources in Singapore. So my first job was in Singapore.
So your professional life began in Singapore.
Yes.
What a place to begin.
Yeah, I started in 2004 in Singapore, and I think I basically lived by the day. I was the junior most person on the desk. I had a huge hunger for learning. I just felt that I wanted to make the most of my time there. I really engaged very proactively, very positively with my seniors. For me, no work was small work. I was really working hard. And I think the company saw that learning ability and that beginner's mindset in me. And, then I moved from one location to the other. After a couple of years in Singapore, they posted me for a marketing role in Dubai. So I spent a year in Dubai. After Dubai, there was a internal leadership program where they picked few people from across the company because the company had a lot of businesses. And they said that, okay, apart from what you're doing, what else can you do? So they put me in the coffee division in Vietnam.
Wow.
So I shifted to Vietnam, and for me, shifting was like a one-day job, because I didn't really have anything, in the sense I had my suitcase, and I was so mobile.
So literally living life out of suitcases.
Absolutely. And I would, I remember my company told me that, okay, how about this leadership program, and you move to Vietnam and Ho Chi Minh City. And for me, I looked up on the map that where is Ho Chi Minh City. And yeah, after 2 days, I was off once my visa was done. And, I was living in a very modest apartment, doing things on my own, learning the coffee business, making friends, network in Vietnam.
And it's a lovely city. People are so warm and welcoming there.
Absolutely. And I think the good thing is that, people want to learn and talk to people who know English.
Right.
So, automatically you get to interact with a lot of locals and understand the culture. And then I moved to Indonesia for a while. And then, as part of my entire sort of rotation, I moved back to Singapore for a couple of years. And and then, I changed jobs back in 2010, and I started working for this current company that I'm with. It was earlier called Glencore. And I moved to Netherlands as part of the cotton business. So, and from there I moved to India, and I've been here for 10 years now, 11 years now.
Wow. So kind of globe-trotting in almost all, other than Netherlands, I've been to all the places that you mentioned, and all lovely cities to live and stay and, interact and learn so much. And from this conversation, a lot of good things came out, Not everyone is so future ready or adaptable. They need time. कि अच्छा transfer आया posting आया, I'll take time, I'll adjust. So the importance of being future ready and just grabbing the moment, because opportunities don't, knock twice. You take it or somebody else will, grab the position. So I think that's a very important message for anyone who's watching this, that you have to be ready at every given point of time. And if you have that learning thing in you, you will rise, because I think you're quite young that ways, and being a managing director of such a repute organization, that really shows that you have, hard work. There's a lot of hard work that has been done, and you have grown yourself in that ways.
And I think I would say that I was very lucky. I had very good mentors all along. And I think, once you start trusting the people that you work with, and you know that they have your back, and I think it's easier to take decisions, especially the slightly more significant ones where you're moving from one country to the other.
Right.
And for me, I was always buying time from my family, because they were always after me, okay, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? So I said, okay, 1 more year, 2 more years. And then, a long period of time elapsed where I was working and I was doing well. And then my family also said, I think you're in a good spot, you're in a right place.
Right.
Don't think about coming back to the family business. I think, this is your calling, and this career would be good for you. This is something that you enjoy. You got sort of respect in the industry. You keep learning. So, for me, I think I was very lucky to have good mentors. And for me...
And a family who was not demanding.
No, absolutely not.
They gave you the freedom to do what you wanted
absolutely.
to.
I think that was a big thing. And I think when I look back and see some of the decisions that my friends took, a lot of people took decisions because they had family affairs to attend to.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. But, life may take a different course. If you're
open to opportunities and you just go with the flow.
Exactly. And for me, it was, somewhere back of the mind, I always had this fallback that if nothing works, I can go back to Lucknow.
Yes. So, that security is also very important.
That security was there. So for me, I think I was literally, living one day to the next, really enjoying what I was doing. And I think it's a fantastic industry to be in. And, I really love what I do. And now, since I'm the country manager, managing director of Viterra India, then, I have sort of more opportunity to make an impact on the business. And, so it's a good place to be in.
So, this is an era of startups, I would say, past 10 years. A lot of startups have mushroomed, they might do well or not, that's a different story. But, people are open to the idea of starting their own thing. And there's also this myth, I would say, when they say that, that corporate life is very hectic, there's no job security, you can, lose your job, things might end, so you should have your own business. So you have seen your father's business and the family business, you've worked into the corporate as well, and you have both the local perspective as well as the global perspective. Is it that stressful in the corporates? And if there is stress, you personally, how do you handle and manage your stress?
I think it depends on people to people. For me, there is no stress.
Wow.
For the last 20 years that I've been working, there are periods where it's extremely hectic, but I wouldn't call it stress.
Okay.
Sometimes your body will get stressed because you've worked very long hours and you haven't had an opportunity for enough rest. Those are, for me, work has always been fun. Work is always, there are periods where you feel that you are stressed out a little bit, but it doesn't last very long, at least in my case.
Right.
And, so, a lot of people talk about work-related stress. For me, a lot of this, it comes down to how you handle communication also within the organization.
True.
If the situation is such that it's creating stress and you're not able to handle that stress on your own, you have to talk to people as to how to diffuse that stress. Right. You may not have the best answer in every situation.
True.
And I think communication, openness, extremely important, I think, for stress management. In my case, that's my nature. If I'm stressed, I can't function. So it also means that I have to sort of be in a zone which is stress-free. My family, my wife, for example, if there's something which is bothering me, I will sort of sometimes not really in too much detail, but sort of also talk to her. That's what's bothering me a little bit. So, so that helps to also have somebody you can talk to. That helps to relieve stress. Right. Like I mentioned, communication. And I think eventually, you get your own answers. Once you're open to receiving, something that might diffuse the situation. So, there are, I think, and for me, that's a really good way of stress management. If something's really, really bothering you, you have to go and talk to people. And somebody will find a solution that works for you.
And I think a lot of times we fail because we don't communicate. You might think that I'm thinking something, and the situation could be that I'm not thinking at all about it. But you in your own head is thinking that, and when we don't communicate, things go haywire. Are you also a spiritual person, if I would say?
I have my sort of set of rituals that I adhere to. I have been extremely fascinated by this whole concept of mindfulness.
Okay.
I do follow some gurus, and I think it lends me that slight peace when I need it. I think as a person, I'm not a very jittery person. Okay. I'm not a very frazzled person. For me, I always say that if something happens, maybe there's something good in it. Right. And I think that itself sort of calms my nerves down. So I don't know whether it's a result of sort of long-term spiritual practice or mindfulness or meditation, but I think in today's time and age, everybody needs it. I think everybody needs it because we've got too many distractions, we've got too many expectations, too much of, I would say, social exposure.
Right.
And I think once you have some of those things, they help reduce the negativities of all these forces. So I think it works for me. I'm really not qualified to really recommend anything to everybody. But you do practice meditation for your
I
do, and I think
personal wellness.
Yes, I do, and it really works for me. I think it just adds, helps you to live in the moment, and that's really what you can do. Lovely. So,
Good. So, Viterra India has a global presence, as you said, and it's into a lot of things. How about their corporate social responsibility? Let's talk about, how this organization is doing well in what it's doing and how responsible it is towards the community.
So this is a really, really great topic that you've sort of touched upon. As a corporate citizen, we feel that, we feel very strongly about social goals as well. And from a global perspective also, we have a community fund that invests in social initiatives, and then all across the country, we are always looking at what the needs of the community and the societies, especially where we operate. So there are so many examples world over where the company has done excellent work.
Okay.
In India, since the last few years, we've been spending considerable amount of money, effort, resources to give back to the environment, to the society, to the community.
Right.
And there are a few initiatives that have been extremely successful, I would say, from an impact perspective. One such initiative is actually something that we did in Lucknow over the last 5 or 6 years, where we are working with an NGO called Sarthak that works with young children who don't go to school, who are, they have this concept of yellow rooms, and there are these small yellow rooms set up within the slum areas where the kids can go and get this sort of informal education before they go to a more formal school. And so we've been working with Sarthak for many years, which is extremely been...
and they're doing phenomenal work.
Yes, absolutely. Then we work on several other areas like agroforestry, where we are working with farmers that they just don't grow one crop, but they grow multiple crops at one stage, and the income levels improve if they adopt this agroforestry. 2 years back, we worked with Rotary Club of Mumbai, where we worked with them on a project where they have tie-ups with certain hospitals in Mumbai, where they are doing congenital, they're treating kids from 1 year to 12 years who have congenital heart disease. So the hospitals have also subsidized the care treatment, and then we become sort of partners to pay for the portions which are not subsidized. So I'm very proud to say that in the last 2 years, through the contributions of ITERA, we've done over 104 surgeries of 104 kids, basically giving them a new lease of life and hope for the family. Like these, we have several other projects. We work in interiors in Maharashtra with tribal communities, and improve their market linkage for their crops. So there are so many projects that we work on, and the great thing is that the company, the global headquarters, we have a global CSR committee. They've been extremely supportive of whatever we've done in India, and they see India as a high impact zone. When you have 200 million people living below the poverty line, and when you have large part of India still in the rural economy, there is a lot of impact that companies like ourselves and other companies can make. So we're extremely happy that we have that opportunity to sort of serve the community and society in some way.
And it's beautiful to hear all this, because we have a lot of big companies here, but not everyone is so socially aware and sensitive towards the need of the community, because we want to grow as an organization. You want to grow, but if the community is not growing, that growth will ultimately fall down, because you have to take those people also to a certain level so that a holistic environment is there. So lovely to hear what Vitera India is doing. Since you have worked in multinational and global assignments, and post Corona also, I think there has been a shift. Earlier, youth would want to go outside. Everyone wanted a foreign degree, work in multinationals. With the whole epidemic, kind of now there is a shift that India is also good. We should stay here. We have good schools and colleges. What is your message to youth who is on the verge of picking up a career or a job, or say when you were at that position, you might also have had a checklist, what you want in life. There are counselors these days easily available, but still when you sit and when you think about your life, so if a youth is sitting and thinking what should start a business or join some business or go for a corporate career, what are few things that the person should keep in mind before embarking on a professional journey?
I think India is right now in such a great place in terms of opportunities. I think the world is looking at India as sort of a beacon of growth. We have, if you just look at all the countries that are neighbors to India, a lot of countries have sort of fallen on bad days, if I can use that word, from a growth perspective. So I think India is right now, the India of today provides huge amount of opportunity for everybody. When you say that what should the youth do, should they look at an overseas degree, an overseas job, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. I think you have to see that, what skills you want to develop, what industry you want to be in, and do you really see value in doing that course from an overseas country or a job in an overseas country, I think this whole halo of being in a foreign country is over.
Yeah.
And I think, people realize that through their lifetimes, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for tourism across the world.
Right.
And I think that whole charm of, because everything is so easily accessible today.
Right.
I think maybe back in the days, people would have a fascination for going overseas. But when I see the youth of today and when I talk to some of the school students, the beauty is that they will assess opportunity on its merit, not because that it's in the US or it's in Europe,
Right.
Because those countries have become very accessible for all of us, for all Indians in particular. And I think India is in such a great spot right now. A lot of companies from world over are coming and investing in India. I think we have a stable government, we have stable forex reserves, we have stable currencies, we have globally comparable tax rates for businesses now. So I think I would, like, for me, I'm always open to assessment, open to opportunity. So if somebody feels that you'll be better placed in your corporate life if you did a course from an overseas university, I would say, by all means, absolutely assess it and go for it. But don't think that, but then assess the opportunity of doing that course in India as well. The cost of doing that course overseas versus cost of doing it in India, the benefit of doing it in overseas versus benefit of doing it in India. So I would say that you have to be open to all these possibilities, but not be enamored just because the course is in a foreign country that has some aspirational element to it.
That's a beautiful message for the youth, because many a times that's the assessing parameter that I'll be in New York or I'll be in London, wherein you can do it in India. And I think getting admission in an Indian IIT or an IIM is way more difficult than the foreign universities if we talk about. So what next for you?
No, I'm, our company is actually going through a merger process with another company. So there's lots for me to look forward to, and for a lot of people of Itera India as well. I think, the agri-business provides a huge platform for companies like ourselves.
And it's never going to go, because
exactly, it's a sunrise industry, it's an evergreen industry. So for me, we have lots of plans within the company, what we want to do, where we want to expand. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, India at the moment provides a long highway for growth. And I think, with technology, with infrastructure, the boundaries are becoming smaller. The distances are becoming smaller.
We are returning to the golden age, I would say.
I would say so too. When you look at the airport infrastructure, when you look at the port infrastructure, we have this habit of comparing to China for everything, or comparing to the US for everything. I think the demographics there are completely different.
Very true, very true.
I think we have to see where India was and where India is and what India will be. And then see the growth highway that it presents in the industry that we are in. And I think I have to say that the agri-business, the food business that we are in, I think, we are 1.4 billion people at the moment. Food is going to be the most important
it is
commodity.
The most important.
It is. It always will be.
Even though you manufacture all the artificial food, but at the end of the day, you need your agri thing.
And also, I think if India has to grow, the farmers in India need to grow. The farmers are the backbone of the agri sector. And, there are some difficulties that the farmers face because of small land holdings. But I think technology will help alleviate some of those issues. Probably government policy over a period of time will allow for collective bargaining. The whole FPO movement that started a few years ago is now gaining momentum. And I think the well-run FPOs are already seeing the benefits of that being a collective force.
Very true.
And I think over time, as companies get involved, as policies become a little bit more friendly, technology comes in, this new generation of farmers comes in, seed technology improves, this entire ecosystem will get lifted. So I'm quite positive about the whole agri-business, about the food sector. And since we are in that business, we should have no dearth of opportunities either.
Lovely. Nice to hear all these good words and, you know, from a perspective, from a global perspective also, plus the Indian perspective, you anyways know about it. So thank you so much for coming. It was lovely having you and hearing these words of wisdom. Good luck to you in all your initiatives.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.